Wild Oats and an avid participant in the Toastmasters program. She is excited at the newness of Pathway that is currently working in 2 paths. Her speech today is from Level 1 in the Effective Coaching Path. The project is evaluation and feedback. This is a multi-step project. First of all, she's providing a speech today and will receive feedback from her evaluator, Lynn, and then she will give another speech that incorporates that feedback. After all that, she will serve as an evaluator to wrap up this project. Today's speech, she's requested lights at 5, 6, and 7 minutes, please. Please join me in welcoming Connie with her speech, It's a Small World.
It's a small world after all. It's a small world after all. There's so much that we share that it's time we're aware. It's a small world after all. Fellow Toastmasters, despite my rather shaky voice, the words of this Disney song have always resonated very true to me. And as I looked around at the friends in my life, the people that I know, I realized just how valid these words are. Have you ever heard the theory of 6 degrees of separation? That any person on earth can be connected to another person through a series of connections that has no more than 5 in between. It's a rather interesting proposition, and what it means for us here at Wild Oats is that we all have connections. And in fact, as you talk with the people that you know, whether it's someone you have just met, perhaps it's someone you've known for a long time, I'll bet that you'd be surprised at how many connections you might find. I'd like to provide you with some examples using Wild Oats members of those connections and how those would be relatable. I'm going to start with Bev. Now, she's not here, so I can say whatever I want about Bev. But you all know that we are very good friends, both within and outside of Toastmasters. As Bev and I were starting to get to know one another quite a number of years ago, I was quite surprised when I discovered that she went to school in Balcarres. And in fact, she was in the same class as my former sister-in-law. So I am connected to Loretta. Loretta is connected to Bev. And therefore, even outside of Toastmasters, I am connected to Bev. Amrutha is another example that I will cite. Amrutha, as a current member of Wild Oats, we have a connection. But even had Amrutha never joined Toastmasters and we had met, we would have discovered that we do have a common connection through one of her colleagues, Dale Jurdis, who is a former member of Wild Oats. So I am connected to Dale, Dale to Amrutha, therefore Amrutha to me. I also think that I have connections to Kevin, although we have never sat down to uncover these connections. We've all heard Kevin talk a number of times about his time and how much he's enjoyed his time in scouting. It so happens that back in the early 90s, I was also involved in scouting in a couple of different leadership positions. I was Bagheera, a cub leader, for a couple of years, as well as spending some time on group committee. Now, if Kevin and I were to sit down over coffee and start to trade names back and forth, I would be very surprised if we didn't uncover some common connections in the people that we know or perhaps knew in that group. I remember when Jason walked into our Wild Oats meeting a number of years ago. He introduced himself, and after the meeting, I asked Jason, do you know the Seltzers out by Balgoni? Well, it turns out that his dad and my brother-in-law are cousins. So I'm connected to Reg, to Alvin, to Jason, and back to me full circle once again. One of our former members, Donna Lang, a former member of Wild Oats, was also a colleague of mine, and showing my lack of knowledge about my family in talking, or my extended family, in talking to her, I discovered that we were cousins because our grandmothers were sisters. Who knew? It's a small world after all. Now let's step away from the Wild Oats area of commonality and look at another platform, that of Facebook. If you are on Facebook and you started to investigate the friends of the friends that you have, I'm sure that you'd be surprised at how many common connections you would indeed uncover. I'll cite the example of a friend of mine, Barb, to illustrate this. Barb and I's friendship goes back 45 years to when I was going to university and I was working part-time at the Bay in the cafeteria. Barb worked there, and we became very good friends during that period of time. But time goes by and we lost touch. A number of years ago, we connected, we ran into each other at what all places but Craven, and our friendship resurrected. Of course, after that meeting, we had to connect on Facebook. And imagine my surprise when I got a message from another friend of mine, Danella, saying, "How do you know Barb?" Well, it turns out that I knew Barb, yes. I knew Danelda because I went to school with Danelda, we graduated together, and Danelda and Barb are cousins. Another example of what a small world it really is. Because it is such a small world, a mantra that I endeavor to maintain, not always successfully, but I really try hard, is not to talk about people in a way that I wouldn't talk to their face. So I don't say words that I wouldn't want to get back to them. Because sure as heck, someone will know someone who will know someone, and those words will get back to the person you were talking about. So it's a mantra that I try to maintain as a tenet of my life. But fellow Toastmasters, as people, I'd just like to comment that we have so much more in common than we have that drives us apart. And I encourage each of you to keep your eyes and your ears open with the people that you meet. Look for those commonalities and those new connections in this very small world.